So, Black Ops 4 has officially been released, and the life cycle for Call of Duty World War II has officially ended. And honestly, I want you guys to have this question in your head the whole time of this video. Did you enjoy Call of Duty World War II, and why? Because in this video, I'm going to be talking about the whole history that happened with the whole year. Basically a recap of Call of Duty World War II, but basically just the big points and the big things that have happened, as well as giving you guys my opinion on what I think will happen to the future of Call of Duty World War II and how long this Call of Duty will last. And also I'll give you guys my opinion on this game. So my name is Nick, and without further ado, let's say farewell to Call of Duty World War II, and let's say farewell to Call of Duty World War II on my channel, and let's move on to a brighter side, which is Black Ops 4 with this final Call of Duty World War II video. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the campaign, because I'm going to switch it up a bit. Like, nobody talks about the campaigns first in Call of Duty, since this could be the last Call of Duty we see a campaign for a while, honestly. The campaign for Call of Duty World War II was pretty nice. At the start, not a lot of people want to play. Who hops in the campaign first? It's usually people who don't have online play, but people who do hop straight into multiplayer, and sometimes zombies. But to be honest, if you have not tried the Call of Duty World War II campaign, I highly recommend it. It's a good story that takes you back into the really old days of Call of Duty, where health regen wasn't even a thing. And it's so fun seeing the whole graphical enhancement of Call of Duty World War II, and it's crazy how the campaign looks amazing but the multiplayer doesn't. But the story is very driven. You really start to care about the characters, and you really get into the characters and the character you're playing personally, and you really start to like everything about the campaign. And it's really nice, and it's all historically accurate for those people that are basically all history nerds. And what I mean by that is that the battles actually took place. I don't mean like other things, but it's a game. Obviously there's gonna be some things where historical accuracy is gonna have to be out of the topic. But to recap the campaign, because there's not much to say about it, spoiler alerts, you find the whole Nazi concentration camps at the end, and it's pretty crazy. It's really a crazy scene to notice. They don't show any dead bodies or anything because you can't really do that. But it's pretty cool that they also implement the whole Nazi swastika into the campaign, but not into the multiplayer and all that stuff. But it's pretty interesting. The campaign was pretty good, and I highly recommend playing. It's not the best campaign in the Call of Duty series, like out of all of them, but it's one that I really recommend you guys to check out. Now let's hop into zombies, since I'm gonna leave the best for last, which is multiplayer. And honestly, this year for zombies was in my opinion, from what I saw, I'm not a big zombies fanatic anymore, but from what I saw, it looked like a pretty sad year for zombies. The content creating side for zombies was pretty dead. Not a lot of people really love to see Call of Duty World War II zombies content on YouTube, and not a lot of people really like to watch streams of it as well, from what I noticed. And also the whole hype for zombies was amazing. They advertised zombies as being scary again and bringing back the Nazi zombies and whatnot, and it was scary at first, but after the first time it's not really scary, and it's just plain old zombies. The hype was real at the start, but then it started to die down way faster than any other Call of Duty I've noticed that's had zombies. Like Infinite Warfare's hype, I think, lasted way much longer, or Infinite Warfare Zombies hype lasted way much longer than Call of Duty World War II's. After the first DLC was announced, the hype was dead. Nobody really cared about zombies in Call of Duty World War II, from what I experienced. It was just the same old zombies that we all know and came to love, but just basically in a more scarier tone and a little bit different and whatnot. But overall, with the story time, or with the story with zombies, it was pretty cool. It was pretty interesting at first, but then you obviously got bored of it and you didn't really care after the whole default map, which was the Final Reich. So just to recap with that, zombies felt like an ultimate fail for this year, and honestly I think it hurt zombies a lot, because we had 2 years when I guess not a lot of people were hyped for zombies, which was Infinite Warfare and Call of Duty World War II. Like, Infinite Warfare Zombies was cool and all, and people actually liked the whole, you know, retro scene of 80s, 70s, 60s, all that stuff, and I'm pretty sure there was a big following for it. But when Call of Duty World War II came out, it seemed like there was no following for the zombie side. Now, last but not least is the monster in the room, and that is multiplayer. Now, let's start from the beginning. This multiplayer was advertised with these whole new things, and the big thing that they advertised it with, or what Sledgehammer advertised it with, was the headquarters, the whole tower thing from Destiny implemented into Call of Duty in its own way. And really, they advertised it so much that you can interact with people in it and do all this and that. And when the game officially came out, you were alone. Like 90% of the people that got the game and hopped into multiplayer didn't play with anybody in the headquarters, and really you were just a loner in there. And the headquarters wasn't fixed until the beginning of December or the end of November, so basically roughly a month till from the game's release. And also what followed that was the whole bugginess, which was World War II, with the whole deranking people and whatnot, and it was just a mess. World War II's launch was a complete mess, and I honestly could tell you guys right now that I think World War II's launch was possibly the worst Call of Duty launch in history. I've never seen a Call of Duty mess up that much at launch before. Like, it literally felt like the game was not ready. Like, it felt like it needed about a month or so to develop a little bit more and then be released, because there were a lot of bugs. And the content, don't even get me to the content. The content was like not there. There was no content for Call of Duty World War II when it first came out. And really, that's kind of what started the whole death with Call of Duty World War II's multiplayer, was the whole launch. And first impressions are everything, and when the launch was really bad, a lot of people just started to not want to play Call of Duty World War II. They did a lot to help the multiplayer though. They revamped the whole division system, the whole taking out the pick 10 and switching it with this whole division system, and it was pretty helpful. It was really amazing, and they actually increased everything for multiplayer and content wise and all that, and it made multiplayer a little bit more enjoyable and worthwhile to play. And honestly, I could tell you guys right now, if you stop playing Call of Duty World War II from back in November, December, anywhere around there, and you come back now, it's actually a totally different multiplayer than it was back then. It's also way better than it was back then. Call of Duty World War II's multiplayer is phenomenal right now, but it still doesn't fight the fact that first impressions mean everything, and the content in this game also means everything now, with the whole Fortnite effect, which basically means people need to be feeded content weekly to basically be appealed to the game and play it more. So with the whole Fortnite effect, it kind of affected Call of Duty World War II, and not a lot of people were playing Call of Duty World War II by the time Fortnite was blowing up. And again, that's because Call of Duty World War II just did not have a lot of content. And you know what surprises me is that a lot of people hyped for this game, and when it ultimately came out, a lot of people just didn't care for it and they were mad about this game. And the same thing happened for Call of Duty World at War, the game that everybody says is the best Call of Duty right now, because honestly, it was a mess when it first was released. A lot of people were hyping up this game, and then when it came out, not a lot of people liked it. The same thing happened with Advanced Warfare, but at that time, boots on the ground was the main argument of Call of Duty is repeated over and over and over again. It's a copy and paste of the game from the previous year, so Sledgehammer mixed it up with advanced movements, and people liked it at first, and then they completely hated it. So the same thing happened with Sledgehammer. Everybody wanted boots on the ground back, and Sledgehammer gave it to them. They loved it at first, and then they completely hated it. To recap, the multiplayer was a big flop at first, and it got way better. But ultimately, again, first impressions mean everything, and the content is still kind of not there for Call of Duty World War II, so the replayability from the multiplayer is just not there. Just to note that Master Procedure Wars didn't come until basically now, like just recently, for people who have been Master Procedures, and that's not acceptable. Call of Duty World War II's multiplayer, to me, just felt like a big flop, but it did improve. So ultimately, did you guys enjoy this game? The question that I asked you guys at the beginning of this video, did you guys enjoy Call of Duty World War II? And tell me that in the comments down below, because my opinion to you guys, or my answer to that question, is I didn't. I really did not enjoy Call of Duty World War II, and one example is if I'm forced, or if you actually hop on to Call of Duty World War II just to finish the orders and then hop out, that doesn't mean you like the game. It really doesn't. You need to be able to play the game, enjoy the game for long periods of time, and if you're just getting mad all the time and not having a good time, then you don't like the game. The game makes you frustrated, and I never had any experience with that with Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, just games that I have loved in the Call of Duty series, and I've had a great experience with them to the point where they're my favorite Call of Duties. But I had such a bad experience with Call of Duty World War II from the day it was released to now that I'm honestly really glad this year is over, because Call of Duty World War II was a pain for me, and it's honestly in my list of the most worst Call of Duties ever. What I see for the future of Call of Duty World War II in an unbiased way, I was trying to be as unbiased I can be in this video, but there's just so much negatives about Call of Duty World War II that you can't shy away from them. But the future of Call of Duty World War II in my eyes, like what will happen to this game, is that I think it's gonna die. The population is probably gonna die after Black Ops 4. There's not gonna be a lot of people playing this game after Black Ops 4. And it's just gonna be like team deathmatch, domination, all that stuff, because this game doesn't have a lot of replayability. Not a lot of people are gonna want to play this game over and over again when there's like Black Ops 4 out there that has, or that's gonna possibly have, more content than Call of Duty World War II. Actually, I think I'm gonna be 100% sure that this game is actually gonna have more content than Call of Duty World War II. And then there's also games from back then that have way more content than Call of Duty World War II. Look at Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3, Infinite Warfare, Modern Warfare Remastered. Those games actually have more content than Call of Duty World War II, and it's honestly crazy, because Call of Duty World War II was a game that everybody was hoping will bring back Call of Duty, and it really didn't do that. It actually hurt Call of Duty a little bit more than what we suspected. And it honestly, everybody was saying that Infinite Warfare was going to be the death of COD, but honestly, Call of Duty World War II was the death of COD. And content on YouTube for Call of Duty was dead during this whole year of Call of Duty World War II. Nobody cared for it, and that's why the Fortnite craze went nuts, because Call of Duty is usually the game that makes everybody go nuts. But this time it wasn't, and hopefully Black Ops 4 changes that whole thing and Call of Duty is the main game that makes everybody go nuts. But sadly, guys, the future for Call of Duty World War II just doesn't look bright, and honestly, I'm not surprised about that.